Morning, y'all. So, something that's really fired me up this morning is the idea of personal development lighting you on fire. I'm only 27. This has been something that I've been on my whole life, but only recently have I gotten serious and feel like I've turned pro, as Stephen Pressfield would say it. You know, he talks about amateurs and professionals, and amateurs do it. They don't do it for pay. They don't do it every day. Pros, they get paid for it. They do it every day, among other distinctions he makes. Um, as a 27-year-old, I feel extremely young, and I'm on fire. Like, I feel like I'm burning up. I don't have a lot of time. Therefore, it's imperative to read, to learn, to write, to create, to master myself. That's my why in life. My why is to master myself so that I can serve others, give value back. It's a part of the hero's journey. I don't understand how you can be in your 30s and 40s and 50s and cease growth, not look to grow. I don't understand it. I don't know how people don't burn up towards personal development. When you're growing and making progress, life is exciting. When you're not growing, it becomes stale. For me, that turns into depression eventually, or it has in the past. People talk about being motivated, like motivation is the key. And it isn't. Motivation's BS. More often than not, I'm not motivated. It's my why is too strong to stop or to take a break, take a day off. Now, we all go through winters in life where it's dark and cold. But what's your overriding theme of your life? Mine's growth. That's what I focus on, is growth. So you need to get serious about life and turn pro in whatever you're doing. Turn pro. Stephen Pressfield will give you more information on that. If you want a book, I would suggest The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield or Do the Work. Either one of those. Jim Rohn talks about getting smart, education, philosophy. You can't change the way the wind is blowing, he says. You can't change the economy. You got to change your philosophy. You got to change how you operate. You got to upgrade and update your thinking. And he goes on to talk about motivation. And he's like, we don't start with motivation. Don't start with motivation. Start with education, because if you motivate an idiot, you got a motivated idiot. They say education without action is worthless. And action without education is dangerous. You have to get smart, you got to get serious, and you got to take action. You got to have a dream, a goal, a vision. But vision without action is a hallucination. That's the problems most of us have in life. They arise. What's the root? The root is we don't have, if you take the root word of motivation, it's motive. Motive goes back to starting with your why. If you start out of order, if you start with motivation, you're out of order. You may arrive where you want to arrive, but it's not about doing it incorrectly and getting what you want. It's about the correct strategy and approach that can be repeated. You don't want to have to guess. Once you get the strategy and approach down, master one thing, understand everything. You need to start with why. It's a buzz phrase now, but so you could be cynical, or you could just start with why. Write it down. Meditate on it. Focus on it. Nobody's special. Everyone has this within them to realize their godlike powers of their purpose in life. But the biggest hang-up, referring back to the hero's journey, is we're all called to an adventure. That's the first step in the ordinary world. But the second step is where most people fail, and they're scared and they refuse the call. Think about The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, when Frodo or Bilbo were visited by Gandalf, call to adventure. And then they refused the call. They didn't want to do it. And it's simultaneously, but they meet that mentor. And that journey they go on. One of those parts is going into what's called the belly of the whale. The belly of the whale is what Joseph Campbell talks about. Enter your innermost cave, and that's where you'll find your treasure. Personally, that is the deepest and darkest place I've ever been in my entire life. Nothing has scared me more. But nothing has brought me more love, enjoyment, fulfillment, excitement, and it's my source. It's my biggest source. I can look back on it and immediately it's my cue to go anytime I would need it. It's very refreshing to be able to have that recall back to the moment, immediately utilize that energy. It was 2012. I had been marred in depression, going in and out of it. I was in the undergrad. Can remember where I was, what house I was in. My door was open in my room. I had been sullen for weeks, numb for weeks. I had just had enough. I just wanted to feel something. I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy. I was just completely numb. If there was a button to push to end my life, it would have happened. If it was that easy, I probably would have pushed it. I'm a very convenient person. I like to use buttons like a crock pot. I like to automate a lot of things, and I probably would have done that. But I didn't have a button, so I had a belt. So I put that around my neck, and I looked out my door, into the hallway, into the mirror, and I stared. And it was like I was staring at myself currently through the eyes of my past when I was a child, through the times when I was happiest, and my future times, all at once. And then coming back to the thing I was actually looking at was this broken person. But it was a part of the hero's journey to go down into the deep, dark belly of the whale. The road of trials. We all have them. So I asked myself, what's worse? This pain that I've been feeling and that seemingly comes back even after I get out of it, or the pain of not seeing my life through, overcoming the obstacles, overcoming this, and then becoming who I was destined to become. And that was the turning point. That wasn't a rhetorical question. I asked myself that in my mind, and here I am. A year later, I fell back into depression. Not as severe. And the year after, another bout of depression. And I thought this was maybe a recurring theme, that maybe it wasn't ever going to leave my life. Maybe that was my cross to bear, if you will. I didn't have that as an overriding theme, but I thought it's a possibility that I may have to deal with this. So I thought, what's the best way to deal with this? I've got to come up with some strategies. And within these road of trials, I learned tremendously more than I had ever learned, because I finally gave myself the power that even if this is going to come, if this storm is always coming, I've got to come up with some ideas, strategies, approaches, disciplines, and habits to not allow the winters, these depression bouts, the winters of my life, to kill me. And you never arrived at a destination, so I'm not saying I'm there. What I'm saying is I've developed through copying and listening and learning and from other people. They say a smart man learns from his experiences and mistakes, and a wise man learns from others. I used to be in that sense, I used to be smart, where I'd start to learn, and I wasn't smart all the time. I would continually fail to learn the lesson. Life will give you a lesson until you learn it. In the past, I hadn't been learning the lesson life was giving me, so it kept coming back. Eventually, I got smart, and I learned from those, and now I'm becoming wise, by definition of learning from the top people, top experts. What are their habits and disciplines and routines and rituals and approaches and strategies to success and achievement? Not hooey-gooey million-dollar affirmations, but what's the actionable steps? This is my life, mastering myself as part of the hero's journey in order to serve others and deliver the highest value I can. Currently, that's to anybody that will listen. It's to my classes that I teach, to the 200 plus student athletes I coach. And as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, 1 is greater than 0. If one person sees the light, they kind of